Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
Best process, best practices, best methodologies. Okay. To incorporate security within the agile process and DevOps process. So this is a concept. So the purpose and intent of DevSecOps is to build on the mindset. Yes, the mindset that everyone is responsible for security. So if you say, no, I'm not responsible for security, security team is responsible for security, or only dev team is responsible for security, or only architect team is responsible for security, I am not responsible for security. So we want to change your mindset. We want to change your mindset. Why? Because we want to do the DevSecOps, and in a DevSecOps, everyone is responsible for the security with the goal to safely distributing security decisions at a speed and a scale to those who hold the highest level of context. Are you dev? So you take the better decisions for the security. Are you QA? You take the better decisions for the security. Are you architect? You take design the architect in a way the secure architect. So in your context only without sacrificing the safety required. Okay, so this is the DevSecOps. DevSecOps has certain manifesto, and this manifesto has been published by DevSecOps org. So what exactly these manifestos are? So here, leaning in over saying no, always saying no. Data security science over fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Open contribution and collaboration over security only the requirement for your release, or consumable security services with API over mandated security control and paperwork. Business driven security scores over rubber stamp security. Red and blue team exploit testing over relying on scan and theoretical vulnerabilities. 24/7 proactive security monitoring over reacting after the being informed of an accident. Shared threat intelligence over keeping info to ourselves, and compliance operation over the clipboard and checklist. So guys, this is the DevSecOps manifesto, and this is what we are trying to practice with in our project. So if you want to understand in a more better way DevSecOps, you have to understand the evolution of the software development. So we had a waterfall model, you know that. Now we have agile methodology. Okay, so waterfall model and then agile. So in the waterfall model, we create a values at the longer duration. We start something and then end, and that's creating a values. But in agile model, we create a values at a certain shorter interval, like a 2 weeks of sprint planning or something like that. Okay, so when you want to assure the security at the waterfall model, when you want to assure the security, you want to have a, you don't want to have a values, but you want to have a assurance of like your security is good for your product, then there are certain frictions gets built up, and a frictions which is in waterfall model is as follow, like security as an afterthought. That means, okay, let's do one thing. Let's say do everything and then we'll do the security testing. Okay, then we'll do the security testing. Security sign off delays the project. So let's say if you found some issues in the during the security testing at the end of the product release, then again you have to rewrite everything from scratch. Again, you find the issues in a waterfall model very late in the project. Okay, once off point in time assessment. Again, cost of retestings is very high. Like if you find a security loopholes, you have to develop, you have to test. Again, it required time and effort, right, for them from the engineering team. So cost of retesting is very high. Security is too slow. Security is too slow in a waterfall model. And in that, not enough skills available to be secure. Ratio of security expert to dev expert is very low. So these were the challenges which we had. These were the frictions which we had in terms of security in waterfall model. So after some time after the waterfall model, we got the DevOps model. Now in a DevOps model, what has happened? We merged the people together, development and operations, working together for the software with one objective. So we had a dev plus ops. We have a dev plus ops. So we had some frictions in the development also. So development like to have a have a focus on the improvement, whereas developments would like to have a frequent change. Operations want to focus on stability, and they want to focus on the limited change. Developers own the changes, where the engineering operations, they need to follow the standard operating procedures. Developers planning are flexible, whereas operations have a rigid CAB change advisory board. Developers, once they release, move on to the next version, but operation after the release have a constant monitoring and 24 by 7 response support. So these were the friction between the development and operations. And what we did, we merged this dev plus operations together. We merged the development and operations together and we got the DevOps. We got the DevOps. So now what we need to do? So we need to overcome the challenges which we had in the waterfall model with the security. And now with the DevOps, we want to implement the security. So how can we do that? So after the DevOps, what we did, we merged the security and plus DevOps together. And then it become a DevOps, correct? We merge the DevOps and security to remove the frictions what we had it earlier, and that's become a DevOps. So if you see that in the DevOps, we do the planning, coding, building, testing, release, deploy, operate, and monitor. This is a DevOps. But what security you will be doing during planning phase, during coding phase, during building phase, during testing phase, and also on. So during the planning, you can do the threat modeling in terms of security. Who will do that? Architect will do that. You can define the coding standard during the planning phase. Who will do that? Senior programmers will do that. During the coding phase, you can do the static code analysis. During the build, you can do the vulnerability scan. During the testing, you can do the penetration testing. During the release, you can do the compliance validation. During the deploy, you can do the code signing and validation. During the operate, you can do monitor, detect, respond, and recover and monitor. So now if you are trying to implement the DevOps, and if you merge the dev security aspects as well, so we become a DevSecOps. Guys, are you understanding this stuff?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So guys, you have to change your mindset. Change your mindset. Remember, if you forgot the definition of DevOps, let me remind you. If you are writing code, if you are writing a code for the product, and if you want to say yourself, I'm a dev team, that's okay. But now we will say DevOps. If you are writing a code for testing the product, again code, don't talk about the manual stuff. So if you are writing a code for testing the product, and if you wanna say yourself as a QA is okay, we will call the DevOps. Or if you are writing a code again and you are doing the coding for the infrastructure, and if you want to call it operations, it's okay, we will call you the DevOps. So no matter what you are, dev plus QA plus operations, no matter what you are, you have to do the coding. And let me tell you one more things. You are an engineer, you are a DevOps engineer. You alone have to write a code. You alone have to plan for the coding. You have to write a code. You have to test the code yourself and deploy the code in the production yourself only. That is also called a DevOps. So are you doing the coding? No, think about it. If you are not doing a coding, you should be starting doing it, because if you don't do that, it's not good for the software development and the practices in the domain. So guys, security should be also done through the coding itself. So now you have to write a security as a code. So now code review becomes code preview. Patching become a new environment and deploy. I don't want to patch. We want to deploy the new environment altogether. That's the reason I taught you the Docker and all. In the Docker, did I talk about the patching? Docker. So you have one image, you create a new container. You have a different version of image, you create a new container. It's a new environment with the help of Kubernetes and so on. Incident response become an incident avoidance using threat modeling. So you have to start coding any security aspects as well. Coding is everywhere now. And if you can't code, it's a problem. So guys, in the continuous integration, what we do, we know that, right? We did the build the pipeline also. Jenkins, correct? Are you able to recall the Jenkins?
Yes.
So now you incorporate the security along with it. You want to do the planning, incorporate the security. You want to do the coding, incorporate. You want to do the build, unit testing, packaging, deployment, acceptance testing, different kind of acceptance testing, and everything. Incorporate the testing on every phases and attach to the Jenkins. How to do that? More or less, you know that using Jenkins. So now we will try to understand. So far we discuss about what is a DevSecOps. Now we will try to identify the benefit of DevSecOps. So guys, benefit for the DevSecOps lies to everyone. Are you the developer? Are you manager? Are you DevOps? Are you CFO? Are you operations? Are you anyone in your software project? You have a benefit and you have a role to play. You have a role to play in a DevSecOps. Okay, but there are certain places where the DevSecOps is very suitable, but certain places DevSecOps is not suitable. So if you have agile methodology, very good. If you have existing DevOps in place, very good. If you have a many releases in place, very good. In place for release year, very good. You have a some automation in place, very good. But if you are on waterfall model, highly regulated, requires approval, few releases per year, zero automation in place, then let's forget about the DevSecOps. First try to implement the DevOps here, not the DevSecOps. Okay, so you have to find out where it is possible or not possible. So Shivam Avasthi, he's the one of your friend, colleague. He wants to understand the benefit of DevSecOps and same time he wants to help his manager and peers to implementing the DevSecOps. So what to do? Okay, what to do? So he has to understand some of the benefit of DevSecOps. So guys, security issues are found earlier in life cycle. If you implement the DevSecOps using this method, you can find out the security issues earlier in the life cycle, which will reduce the cost of remediation and rework, bug fixing and all. Reduce the risk for Kotokas and customers. Increased team collaborations. Reduce time to rework on the security vulnerabilities. Consistency in approach, continuous security and all. Increased compliance level, secure by design. Better and automated security testing helps compliance with the various laws such as GDPR and CCPA of US. So these are some of the benefit if you implement the DevSecOps. Now, if you see that here, very good graph. If you implement the DevOps, your remediation cost. Okay, if you do not implement the DevOps, then remediation cost will be much higher. If you implement the DevOps, then your remediation cost At the design phase will be much lower than coding, then integration, then acceptance, then production. If you have in a production stage, your remediation cost will be too high. Too high. If you found the security issues at that time. But if you try to do at the design and coding and integration stage only, your remediation cost will be too low. So that's one of the major benefit of DevSecOps. Okay, fine. So Shivam understood the benefit, but he wants to understand the roles and responsibilities. So what kind of roles and responsibilities you have it? It depends on the organization, guys. This is just a guidelines. You will be having tooling team who will be ensuring the DevOps pipeline is extended to include security testing. Integrate with the security testing tools. Many tools are there, which we'll discuss in a few slides, next upcoming slides. Vulnerability management, ensure all the vulnerabilities are managed, block deployment in accordance with your company's risk policy. Application security and compliance. So everything whatever we have a responsibility in team, certain rules and team can perform. So you can check this out. Now, so we have understood what is DevSecOps. Next one which we have understood why DevSecOps, that is like a benefit. But how to adopt? Okay, how to adopt DevSecOps? Let's talk about the some sort of realistic stuff. Don't give me too much of jargon. I know that the benefit. Now I know that what is the DevSecOps. Come to the point, give me the adopting. How can we adopt the DevSecOps in the software development lifecycle? So guys, same slide. Look at it one more time. Adopt. During the planning phase, do something. What? During the coding phase, do something. What? During the build, during the test, delete, deploy, operate, monitor. There are certain things you have to do. What you have to do? I think more or less we know by now. And for everything, we have a tools in place, though we have a very limited tools which we have learned from the DevSecOps, like Docker, which is a platform, SCA for the code analysis tool, SonarQube for the code analysis tool. We learn CI Jenkins, uh, something else, Selenium and Jacoco and JMeter. So very few tools we have learned. There could be multiple tools actually. In operations, we did not cover any tools. Deployment, we did not cover any tools. Monitoring, we did not cover any tools. So it's like that. So you position DevSecOps in your life cycle. So how can you position? We will discuss, but it will give you the visible progress every day. So guys, DevSecOps maturity model, threat modeling before that maturity model. Okay. So if you want to implement the DevSecOps, okay, do you have a culture in place? First of all, are you all, whether you are dev, QA manager, architect, IT operations, whatever it is, network, DV, are you having the right culture in place? Are you ready to do a security part from your perspective? If yes, then tools will come into picture. Skills will come. So first you get a mindset, build your culture. Such cultures where we want to work together for the security, and then you get the skills. And then you outline the plans, programs, outcomes, and then prioritize which is the most important one and which is not important one. So this is the one of the basic DevSecOps maturity model recommended by DevSecOps Foundation. This is a maturity model by OWASP. Anyone have idea about the OWASP?
It's a security standard.
Yeah, we use it.
Yeah. So what is this?
Open web application.
Yeah. So basically, guys, this is a foundation. This is the community. Remember, collaboration and sharing rather than limiting yourself with the your project with your threats and security issue. Do not hide. Collaborate, share your knowledge, collaborate. The security should be API driven, service driven, not like, okay, I want to implement the security, I install the tool and then we are secure. It's not going to happen like that. You don't know where the loopholes are, from where it will come, and stuff like that. So it's an organization, it's a group of people, community. They set it out the guidelines for the security, and they set it out the guidelines, and they some of them have, they have written rules also. I don't know how many of you have checked those rules in SonarQube. If you go in the rules location left side, if you filter by ops rules, you will get it. Actually more than 200 free rules you had it. By the way, you can get the paid rules also. So they have a security maturity, they have a recommendation for the DevSecOps maturity model, in which are you having security in place during the build and deployment stage? Yes, build and deployment stage. Are you having security mindset in your organizations, cultural and organization? Are you gathering the right information? What kind of patch management you have and what kind of test and verifications you have it. So this is a coming under the DevSecOps maturity model. So you have to question yourself. So now guys, adopting is one thing, but designing is another thing. Designing a security, designing a DevSecOps is other things. So let's do one thing. Let's design the DevSecOps first for the planning, then coding, and then build. Then we'll talk about the rest of the things like a testing and then release and operations and monitor. So first let's discuss. So guys, during the planning, coding, and build, what you want to do? So basically, we need to discuss about, we need to create a threat modeling and coding standard. During the coding, static code analysis, during the build, vulnerability scanning. Okay, so let's get started. Threat model, first one, threat model, planning, threat model. What is a threat model? Guys, threat modeling is a process. Okay, it's a process by which a potential threat such as structured vulnerability can be identified, enumerated, and prioritized all form of hypothetical attackers point of view. That means a person is creating a threat model. So that means, okay, my software will be get hacked by this way or that way. For example, my software may get hacked through the operating system, runtime environment. That's one perspective. Maybe it may get hacked to the network protocol level, packet level. Maybe someone will penetrate to my web server, or maybe someone will penetrate to my app server, or maybe someone will penetrate to my database server. So you create a model for it. What kind of issues which can be done at the network level? What kind of issues, threat you can have at the system level, runtime environment level? What kind of issues you can have at the application level, database level, app level, web level, all this data, stuff like that. Are you understanding this? So this is called modeling. You have to design it. So these are the problems. These are the problems for the attacking point of view, and you have to design a model and you have to recommend, you have to process the guidelines. You have to document it during the plan. You have to document it and you have to share with everyone saying that, okay, these are the issues. You may have it. Are you working on it?
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Will be working on it? Are you understanding this or not?
Right. So Rajesh, threat modeling, is it like creating a list of scenarios
Correct.
which are
Yes.
insecure?
Yes.
Okay.
List of detailed threat which you may have it, which is very popular. Hypothetical attacker point of view means, okay, I will try to hack your packet during the transition of network, or I will try to sneak into your machine where that some ports are not blocked, or I will try to sneak in into your some random user and random password, weak password. I mean, they hit hell lot of it. It can be hell lot of it. Correct? You may have a
Yeah.
300, 400 checkpoint. Who will do that? So someone has to do that at the high level planning stage, threat modeling. So guys, there are many threat model is available already in the market. I mean, in the domain practices. One of the threat model, we have a stride model, very popular one. So typically what kind of issues you get it? You get spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure and leakage, denial of service, DDoS. This is the one I had it last night. Elevation of privilege and stuff like that. So these are the, are you taking care of a spoofing? Are you taking care of the tampering? Are you taking care of the repudiation, this, that, and all? So you have to design your threat model. Okay, threat model. So more documentations which you have to read. Again, it's a vast topic actually. So this is just to give you the direction. I'm not making you expert in security in this training. You will just be aware of it, nothing else. You are getting comfortable with the system, architecture, process, tooling part, and all stuff like that. Okay, so this is the done. Now,
And
guys,
do you have any template for that
Stride is a
stride?
template.
Yeah.
Stride
Stride
is
is
a
the
template.
template itself.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Stride is a
Okay.
model template, very popular model. These are the 6. You have spoofing. Find out how can you spoof your software. Tampering. How can you tamper? How can you repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and many things. So these are the one. Okay.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Thank you.
So guys, here CMUSCI, they have released secure code standard, guidelines for secure code standard. What we are discussing about, look at this here, code standard during the planning phase. So define the code standard. Define the code standard. So they suggest validate input, heat compile warnings, architect and design for security. Keep it simple, default, deny, adhere to principle for of least privileges, sanitize data for other system, practice defense in depth, practice effective quality assurance, adopt a secure coding standard. So these are the 10 secure coding practices which has been done in a short. How can we implement, guys? Any idea? These are the guidelines. How can we implement?
Maybe rules
Yeah.
in the solar cube.
Yes. So you need to find out the rules. Someone has to find out that the senior level, which are the list of rules to validate input, list of rules to check the compiler warnings, list of rules to architect and design for the security. So all this thing you have to find the rules. Many of these rules you may not find, but some it's not everything can be done by rules, I mean tools right now. Yes, in future, of course, with the AI and all stuff like that, it'll be possible, but not now. So many things you have to do it manually. So you have to set the standard and you have to always remind your QA and dev team, are you following this standard? Are you having this standard in place? Okay, so at the planning phase, two things you have to do. Threat modeling. Stride is one of the popular model, though there are many models are available. You can do the research offline and set your coding standard and find out the rules which will be good for you, which will be good for you. But now guys, we have to do static code analysis during the coding phase. So guys, there are two things we have in the static code analysis phase. Okay, one is called SAST and another one which we call it SCA. So what is a SAST? So guys, SAST basically examine the source code to identify weaknesses that can lead to security vulnerabilities. SAST, you have already used it, SonarQube. Download some tools like a Findbox, Emma, and some paid plugins with the rules, and you will get the SAST done. 200 rules from the ops has been released free of cost, but again, you have to download more actually. Enterprise version, you get many more actually. So that's a SAST. So you are analyzing the security vulnerabilities in your code. But what is SCA? Guys, remember, it's not only about your code. Nowadays, every programmer is using someone else's code, and that we call it a third party library, don't we? Don't we?
Right.
So you have to analyze that one also, guys, because ultimately you are running that you are using in your system and you're running on that your software. So you have to do SCA tools also, check the open source component against known vulnerabilities. That process is called SCA. So both the things you can do for secure code analysis. So your SAST and SCA tool must have read the source code, language specific scanner, false positive, fast and automated, find weakness early. Now, guys, do you have any tools which you know which will do all this stuff? Do we have any tools which you know?
Veracode.
Veracode, SonarQube.
SonarQube.
Yeah. So now you know that. But guys, if you really want to know a lot of tools which you want to use it for the, you know, security and stuff like that. This guy has got so many tools. You look at this. This is one of the good place to see the list of tools. Okay. And you can go to their website and see that. Okay. So good research has been done by National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST. Okay. So many tools are there.
Limit, right? Means how many tools you can learn. It's challenging, correct?
So sir, I'll tell you one thing, and that is, let's say 8-9 years before, even I was having frustration. Like there's so many tools. Yeah, why can't we have one tools for everything? But later on, when I get into when I build the passion for software development, then I started realizing that like one tool have during the software development or runtime, I mean the coding, testing, running for the large audience, there's so many problems are there. So many problems. And if you keep all the problem solution in one tool, it's almost impossible. Almost impossible, next to impossible to have everything in one tool. And also same time I do, if I see that if one day if I start with a 2000 feature in one tool, I get mad actually. I'll get harassed same day when I start the software development. So it's a good, like we have a problems and different problems, different tools for it. And let me tell you here, and nowadays those tools which we are coming nowadays, those are easy to use, easy to learn, easy to test, easy to extend, easy to share, easy to troubleshoot, easy to debug actually. So compared to the last one. So I think that's a good one, I guess, right? So guys, here we have a tools only related to security and mostly free. Some of them are paid also. Check it out, this URL I'll share with you and get going. Okay, so now we did the static code analysis. We are doing the, you know, things. Now, third thing which we do is a vulnerability scanning during the build. So what you want to do in during the build? So guys, during the build also you want to do SCA and the dashed. What is SCA? Again, same thing. Check open source component against known vulnerabilities, and dashed vulnerability scanner run on completed compiled code. Remember, dashed dynamic application security testing. It runs not on the source code, it runs on the compiled code, like Emma is one of the open source product in Java. Okay. So you have to do SCA and dashed during the build phase. So guys, we design the plan, code and build. Now let's get into the remaining things. So now we do design the DevSecOps for test, release and operations. So what we do? So during the testing, we do the penetration testing. Penetration testing. So guys, testing itself is like a huge domain actually. Okay. I have just taught you only two tools, but there are so many tools are available. But here we are talking about security testing. Yes, we are talking about security testing. So during that, for the security in the testing phase, what you want to do? So most of the time you want to do penetration testing. Penetration testing, which is manually. Load testing for DDoS and fudging testing. So manual testing, this is up to you. For the load testing, did we learn any tool, guys?
Yeah, JMeter is there.
Yeah. And fudging, fudge the data and give the wrong input, output, all the stuff. Selenium. Okay, so let's talk about the fudging. So fudging or fudge testing is an automated software testing techniques, automated Selenium. Software testing technique that involves providing invalid, unexpected or random data as an input to your software. And then the program is then monitored for exceptions such as crashes, failing built-in code assertions, you know, remember, or potential memory leaks, or typically fudgers are used to test programs that take structured input. So that's called fudging testing. And then last one is integration testing. Integration testing combine all testing, all the modules, all the test cases at once, and integration testing. So these are that 4 testings we do in order to find out the security loopholes in your software. Now, next one is during the deployment phase. What do you want to do? What you want to do? So typically during the deployment phase, you want to do the SSL testing. SSL testing is very simple, guys, though you have to run it every time. SSL testing means the certificate which you have loaded to the application is right or not. So SSL testing ensure all the transport security layer certificates are valid or not. So, and second, during this application hardening. Hardening means reducing the attack surface area, such as your VM's image hardening, Docker image hardening, checking that are you having any password embedded in your application or a token or certificate or anything which you left it out where from there we can sneak in all this stuff. OK, so during the deployment phase, you have SSL testing and application hardening. All this thing you can do that.
What is the tool? Yeah, that's what I was asking for SSL testing.
SSL testing has so many tools. Just you Google it. So many online tools are there.
Yeah.
SSL testing. That's all. Hundreds of tools you'll find
Yeah.
it out.
What's your recommendation? Which are some better tools?
Any tools, just pick it up. Everyone will do the same thing, sir. But if you go for SSL testing, use the New Relic or a Datadog. That will be. I mean, again, every tools are doing the same thing. All by the way, these tools you don't have to install it. Just you give the www.devopsschool.com and submit. They will test your all these pages. If you go for the little bit paid services, you'll be having a little bit more analysis reports, but basics one you get it now itself. OK. So
Okay.
any tools you can go for it. There's no problem with the tools actually. Don't start loving tools actually, because remember, I'll tell you my story only in one area. When I started my career with the configuration management domain, so I was asked to learn Chef. At that time, Chef was, oh, sorry, before that, I was asked to learn SCCM from Microsoft. And then I learned Microsoft. I mean, SCCM. I fall in love. I thought, oh, this is so good tool. But suddenly I got to know this is outdated. I've been asking to learn Chef next year. Now, after the Chef, I've been asking to learn Puppet. Then now people ask for learning Ansible. Now people are talking about the Terraform. So, so many things are there, guys. So don't fall in and stick to tools. Any tools which will get you that work done, move, use it and complete it. This is taking time, by the way. See here. So my security certificates are installed properly. This is a high level things. If you want a detailed one, you have to pay for it. Got it?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
So it's not like only one time you have to run every half an hour or 1 hour. Maybe someone has broken your SSL, getting my points. And you have to get a reports, you have to get alerting, you have to get a incident response, everything you have to do that. So it's security is not like one day you do that and then forget about it. So it's not like that. So yep, application hardening. Application hardening, one tool which is getting very popular nowadays, Inspec, Ceph Inspec. But again, AWS also you'll find lots of hardening images. See here, all these images are paid one actually. These are the certified images actually. You won't find any loopholes like unnecessarily tools installed here and there and all. Everything is hardened very well, good for the production. So go for it. OK. Now during the operation phase. So during the operation phase, what you want to do? So guys, during the operation phase, compliance as a code you want to implement. You want to implement compliance as a code. Means check against approved baseline, eliminate any deviation from the baseline. That means, see, if you've been asked to deploy the version 1.1.3 as a baseline, okay, don't do that 1.1 patching, which is not approved. So even though if it isn't been tested, but it's not approved, so don't install it. Same time, you can verification and monitoring. So you can continuously checking that everything is operating normally. So operation phase and then monitoring phase. So guys, all this thing is itself is a huge domain. I don't want to scare you. Compliance as a code, you can use again Ceph inspect. You can use Terraform for verification and monitoring. Vault, you can use Vault again, and Nomad you can use. So many tools are there for verification and monitoring. Again, there are 4 things, guys. Put it in this category. Nowadays it's actually 6, not 4, 6 you can put it. Let's talk about it. Log monitoring. I'm just talking the production, okay? Log monitoring and infra monitoring and infra monitoring, performance monitoring, 3 monitoring. 4th one is this one, synthetic monitoring. 4th one. 5th one, real user monitoring. 5th one, and one more monitoring. Guys, you know all this monitoring, there's a different tools are there. For let's say log monitoring, you have a Splunk or Elasticsearch. For performance monitoring, you have a Neuralink, App Dynamics, and tools like that. Infra monitoring, you have a Datadog. You have Zendesk. Zendesk, not Zendesk, sorry, Datadog and Nagios, and so many tools are there. Again, so many tools are there, so you have to design those tests. So ultimately, see here, end of the day, you build the pipeline. Don't do anything manually. Most of the stuff try to automate, and except the penetration testing, you can automate most of this thing. Penetration testing means someone has to be skillful to find out this. How can you get into the system? It has to be manual. There's no automation in place. So penetration testing, accept that. So using the plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, monitor. So here standard and threat modeling, SAST, DAST, penetration testing, compliance as a code, segregation logging, everything you automate in the CI/CD pipeline, and this is called DevSecOps. Now security tools, if you look at this, blue one, security, that extreme down, extreme bottom side, right side, which is in blue, vibrant blue. So see here, these are the popular code for here coding. I mean tool, sorry, not code, tool. So check matrix, you can use it for the SAST. Signal sciences, you can use it. Black duck, you can use it. For SonarQube, the one which I taught you. HashiCorp Vault, very popular tool. And Snort, Tripwire, CyberArk, Varacode, Fortify SCA. All these tools are popular. By the way, in this domain, most of the tools are paid only, except SonarQube, which we have learned just now. I mean, as part of this session. So these are the tools which is considered to be very good one. Again, 2 to 3 tools will be sufficient. Not every tool is needed for you, because more or less that functionality will be duplicated from one to another. Okay, but apart from that, there's so many other tools also you have to check this. So this is a way about the designing these things. So guys, so far you understood? Any questions, any doubts?
Yeah, Rajesh, the previous slide where you mentioned automation in everything, and especially in monitoring area, monitoring is typically you get a tool and you configure or instrument those. So how can you do automation there?
Why not? I'll put it in this way. Uh, why not? You can do that. So I'll give you an example. Uh, suppose think in this way. Okay, think in this way. Uh, my website is devopsschool.com. Okay. And in the devopsschool.com, I have a login page. Okay. And in the login page, someone is trying to do the fudging and trying to nail it down the user ID and password. User ID and password. So what they will do? Most of the people, you know that, right? Most of the people, you know, they keep the username is most of the time it's very easy to find out. You know that. Password is little difficult. Correct? Agree with me?
Yes.
So password, but you know, many people have a habit, and I'm sure you might have done it. Some of you might have done it. They keep the password damn simple. First 4 keyword here and there and then combine. So this is a pattern actually. Remember, you have only 26 keyword on your 26 letter in your keyword with some numeric things, and patterns are common in the most of the human minds to create it. Okay, you will give the highest priority to your banking password or OTP based or something like that, but not everyone. Not everyone nowadays. You might have heard about yesterday only. One lady was got fooled of 50,000 by just buying some meals or something. Some so they cheated over the phone and through OTP and this that and all. Right. So now this person, the one who's trying to do the fudging from China, okay, and he has a list of password which is very well known, popular in Indian mindset. And you know that Indian mindset, every culture has a different certain mindset, and they keep the password accordingly. Okay, so let's say they have a 1 lakh password and they want to keep trying through the software. So try this user ID, this password, this password, this password, this password, this password, this password. This is there running in this. And now you know that Selenium and all this stuff. So it's very easy to create those kind of programs. Correct? Is it possible or not? Guys, are you there?
Yeah, it is possible.
Possible. So now this is possible. But the problem here is you are a DevSecOps engineer for this application. How do you trace it? So what you have done it in the monitoring stage, I'm just talking about only one phase. In the monitoring stage, you are checking the logs. Morning only I show you the logs. And morning only I show you the logs, and the logs, it is trying to log in to page which has a login with some password, invalid password. So remember, anything you do on application is written in the web server application log, web log and application log, load balancer log, database log. Everything has been written or not? Tell me.
Written.
Yeah. So now what you are doing through, let's say which tool we can use for the log monitoring, Splunk or maybe Elasticsearch. What you are doing, you are reading the log, and what you have set it up trigger point. The moment you find out this particular event, this particular login failed in the logs more than 10 times for some particular uh, IP address or something, then create alert. Immediately it will be sent to operations team, or do one thing, get the process ID of that, whether it's active or not, or maybe in the response request itself, the log itself, they'll be having the IP address, origin IP address, source IP address. Do one thing, add that into the DDoS table for the blocking. Or what you can do, create, lock the session for 60 minutes. So now that hacker will be frustrated. 60 seconds, sorry, 60 seconds. Are you getting more points?
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
So now we have to debunk some of the DevSecOps myth. Any of the monitoring tool which you want to learn, okay, look at my videos at DevOps School channel. You will get it. Many of these videos are there, and some of the videos I'm yet to upload. I'm not getting time, so I'll do that in some time. So now we have a DevSecOps manifesto reminder. Look at this. This is the same thing which we discussed. Leaning in over always saying no, data security science over fear, uncertainty and doubt, open contribution and collaboration over security only requirement, consumable services, security services with APIs over mandated security control and paperwork, business driven security scores over rubber stamp security, red and blue team expert testing over rely on scans and theoretical vulnerabilities, 24/7 proactive support monitoring over reacting after being informed of an accident, shared threat intelligence over keeping info to ourselves, compliance operations over clipboard and checklist. So what is a myth? So many people say, okay, it's very good to listen, very good to hear all this jargon, but we cannot do that. We cannot do DevOps. We cannot introduce DevSecOps because we need a special team dedicated to DevSecOps. Remember guys, we don't need a special team. DevSecOps is empowered engineering team. That means you are empowered. You are a DevSecOps. You are supposed to do all this stuff. Are you doing the QA? Are you doing the dev? Are you doing the planning? Are you doing the architecture? Are you doing the monitoring? Are you doing the operations? So can you extend one more work towards the security? That's all. And every lapses will be taken care of it. So DevSecOps is an empowered engineering team taking ownership of how their product perform all the way to the production, including security. So yes, you are empowered. You don't need a special team for that. Few people say we cannot introduce DevSecOps because security teams still need to do all security for us, check for us, security check for us. So guys, here by handling over security check to other teams, actually we introduce delay. Okay, see, in simple way I'll put it. I write a code. I am a programmer. I know in and out about the code. But what you are doing? You are asking to check the code by someone else. Those who have no idea about your product, flow, class diagram, and all stuff like that. So actually you introduce a delay and time lag into your agile process. Instead, we should ask a security team to codify. So do they have something to check on your code? Do they have anything to check on your code which you don't know? So let's ask them to codify. Codify means ask them to give us those tools, those rules, those stuff which I will run myself and let you know the results. I'll get to know myself. So don't delay the stuff. And to codify their check so we can build team into our development process automatically. Few people say we cannot introduce DevSecOps because we don't have enough resources to do DevSecOps. Do one thing, just buy Veracode, very good tool, very costly. Just buy that tool and everything will be done by Veracode. Why to have a tension actually? Why to get into the security? Let them outsource by the Veracode. So guys, this is not good. DevSecOps is not about a capability. It is a culture. It is all about the culture. Buying a tool is not a culture changing. While the tools are required to make DevOps, DevSecOps possible, these tools supplement the existing development process, not doing the things. It will not do the things, it will just supplement, helps you to deliver the DevSecOps if you have the correct culture in place. So be mindful. Many people say, okay, we cannot introduce DevSecOps because DevSecOps will just slow down our developers. Let me tell you guys, this is a inline process with the DevOps. So DevSecOps is all about empowering developers to ensure their product gets into the production with appropriate security built in. Let's say if you do not do that, end of this and before the release, you come to know these are the security challenges. So you have to rerun this whole SDLC cycle. So that will be more slow down than now. Okay, so that is the also not a good point. Many people say DevSecOps will result in a developer giving up control and won't be able to plan. So guys, with the DevSecOps, developers gain a control, not giving up the control. Gain a control by running security check at the best possible opportunity to help developers fix the issues quickly and easily. No longer are developers dependent on external teams and gain control of the work and schedule. So you have everything under your control. So guys, this is the DevSecOps. And now we understand that what is DevSecOps, why do we need it, how to adopt it, how to design it, and how to connect and along with some of the myth. So far so clear guys, any questions so far? Okay guys, so now after designing, you have to approach also, right? Implementations, some of the implementation stuff after approaching, the topic was implementation. Some of the tools which I have already covered in the implementation. Again, if you want to learn more tool, I showed you one Excel sheet, right? So any tools, any techniques, if you want to learn, again, you can come back to me. But this is the approaching, how to approach. So automated security testing is very important. Security testing, very important. And security testing only not we do that in the testing phase. We do the in the operations, release, a runtime also we do the security testing. We always do the security testing. Okay. So how do we do that? So what is a security testing? What is automated security testing? Is it something fast? How should we approach it? And this is what we are going to understand. So guys, here next path is approaching automated security testing, then performing. Performing we have completed, like JMeter tools we introduce, Selenium we introduce, SonarQube we introduce, Jacoco we introduce, and many things other. So integrating means CI/CD, DevSecOps, security testing. Okay. So guys, here how to set up automated security testing and approaching, performing, implementing. So in this, I'm only talking about approaching. Okay. So what is automated security testing? So guys, in automated security testing, we have a path, tests path. Okay. And then we have a testing methods. And then we have a security testing types. So what is that? So we have a path. Which path you want to go ahead? Guys, have you heard about the BDD? Anyone? BDD?
No.
Behavior driven development. Have you heard about the TDD?
Driven development.
Test driven development. So now guys, we introduce you in the DevSecOps to in order to set up automated security, TDS, test driven security. This is an extension of TDD. So now what to do in this? So along with the TDD, you have to implement the security. So what to do every time you write a test case for the testing the functionality? Now you define a security requirement also along with it. Just one more extra step. Then write a test, verify that test initially fails, and then implement control or mitigations and verify that test passes. Remember, define security requirement. Where do you define? Any idea? Define security requirement. Where do we define? Any idea?
Planning phase.
Planning phase. What was the process called?
Rules.
No,
I
no, no.
think threat modeling.
Threat modeling. Yes, you
Right.
got it. Threat modeling. You define the security requirement, and for that you write a code here during the TDS. So mindful, you define there, you write here, and then run it during the CI/CD process. Security as a code. This is how we do that. So this is similar to test-driven development. Forces team to think of security beforehand only. Therefore, security has to be defined. This is called happy path testing. This is called happy path testing. Okay, this is a test path, TDS, happy path. Okay. If you want to go for the negative testing means don't define anything. Let it go happen. Everything software let it get developed. And after that, you do the testing to find out the loopholes. And that's called sad path, bad path. Negative testing, not good. Positive testing, good. Okay. So always opt for TDS, positive testing, happy path, not negative testing. Do the testing after the software developed. Okay, so negative testing is difficult. How do you know what it's not supposed to do? Instead of set of unique set of inputs, there are unlimited different inputs. Output does not always show the error, sad path. Now method of testing. So guys, static testing, dynamic testing. Remember, static code analysis is different. Static testing is different. Okay, some part of the code analysis is a part of static testing. Some part of the dashed like a dynamic analysis is part of the dynamic testing. Okay, so which part? See here, static testing, nothing is executed. Only you have to check the static source code review, which is a SonarQube, and configuration review, which is an infrastructure configuration, app configuration, web configuration, database configuration, port, network, this, that, and stuff like that. These are the static testing. Dynamic testing, running code, that the compiled code or application, dynamic application security testing, network vulnerability scanning, and all stuff like that. So guys, types of security testing: static application security testing, dynamic application security testing, vulnerability scanning. So this is a automated security testing approach. Okay, now let's talk about what to do. What to do, guys, what to do in static application security testing. Mind it, static application security. So what to do? So guys, you do the source code analysis, SonarQube. You do the linting, SonarLint. You check the check on the secrets on the code. So many tools are there for this. Fisheye is one of them. Fisheye. So so these are the things which you do. Dynamic application security testing. So what do you do? So you want to check the dynamic source code analysis. Fuzzer testing is a part of this. Attack proxies and stuff like that is a part of it. Vulnerability. So what is a vulnerability? A weakness that can be exploited. So which one? So there are some known vulnerabilities also there. So here, automated vulnerability scanner. So one of the vulnerability scanners, you can use fingerprint asset, ingest list of known vulnerabilities, compare asset with the list and stuff like that. Automated vulnerability scanners, which you have like network vulnerability scanner, container vulnerability scanner, third party libraries scanner, and stuff like that. There are some discussions over the manual versus automated testing. Again, we understand more or less what is a manual and automated. So automated basically test that runs without manual intervention. Static as well as dynamic testing can be possible through the automated security testing. Can be remote, centralized as well as local, usually integrated into the build pipeline CI, which is like a Jenkins, mainly negative testing. Here, manual what you want to do, automated what you want to do. Manual you can do the code review, automated source code scanning you can do. Manual you can check on the credential, automated you can pre-commit git hooks tools. Manual penetration testing, automated vulnerability scanning. Manual establish trustworthiness of the third party source code, or automated third party trust verification, SCA. Okay, so here what you want to do, automated. So uh, automated. So this is the stuff. Now guys, automated testing is not a drop-in replacement for manual testing. Okay, manual testing in security is very important. So here, effort to use tooling effectively. Tools only will help you almost close to 20%. Remainings are human only, so you have to be mindful about it in terms of security. Okay, so differentiating the pros and cons of automated security testing. So not everything is a candidate of automated security testing. Okay. Okay. So when automated security testing is useful, so you have to understand that you have to have a, before automating it, you have to have a checklist, how much you will invest and how much reward you get it. Okay. For example, automation you are doing for something, are you getting the reward on the longer term, or your investment is one time and it's gone? Also, you check that when delta scans are easy. Also to check to comply with the standards and to get a security baseline. When automated security testing is less useful, when you have a less rewards, complex business rules, if you have an environment which is very changing, very fast changing every day, or mix of frameworks and languages. Guys, here, not all tools are equal. Okay, understand that. So if you think one tool will do that everything, wrong. Use more than one tool for same kind of test. Let the team experiment with the different tools. You don't interfere with that. Let them team do that. Reporting format can make a difference. That remember that in a JMeter also they will have 4-5 formats. So different formats make a difference. Implement what works best for the team. Facilitate, not mandate, in order to implement the DevSecOps. Also, you should know what to do with known complicancy results before implementing the scans. Now, approach. So guys, these are some of the scenarios where we can set this. Look at this here. So guys, you are the one. Then code. From the coding, you do the build, testing, all this thing. And you get an image, Docker image. Docker image, you understand, right? I hope you have not forgotten the concept. Right, guys?
Yep.
So you get the containers. And then that containers you run the infrastructure. Why we are talking about the container? Because most of the software nowadays we are running on the containers. And I think the way it's growing in next 1 year, we'll migrate everything to containers. So it's very rapidly growing actually. So while doing the implementation, what you want to test? So you want to test the code. You want to test the container. You want to test the infrastructure. But in the code, what do you want to test? So readability, maintainability, clarity, insecure patterns, hard-coded secrets, insecure third-party libraries. Can you do that? Yes, Verac code is there. SonarQube is there. Fortify SCA is there. And so many tools are there to get this done. Containers. What do you want to test? So do you want to test for the poised image, the one which has been compromised, insecure third-party software, hardening, integrity, and verifications? Infrastructure. Do you have infrastructure, hardened configuration error, server and network vulnerabilities? All this you have to check. Where to perform automated security testing? So after the design, define and design, develop, deploy, maintain. So develop static application security testing during the deploy, dynamic application security testing, maintenance, penetration testing. So yeah, advantage of shifting the security testing left for better accountability. Sooner means easier and cheaper to fix. It codifies security requirement earlier on. Now during the pre-commit, how can you do that? So before committing itself, can you check that security problem? So guys, do we have any tools for doing that before committing itself the code? We will have a check. Do we have?
Jenkins, we can do that, or GitHub.
No, that is after the commit. The one which I talked about, that was after commit and push also. I'm saying before commit itself, we can check the code. Think.
Do they do that? Eclipse,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah, we have it. It's not going to the build also, not testing also. We were checking the, do we have a code issues, security issues in your code before committing itself? How can we do that? So we use the Git hooks, and with that combination of Sonar, Cube, Lent. Someone has asked this question. I don't know whether in this batch or someone else, some other batch. This one. See here. Sonar Lent fix issue before they exist. That means in your code, while writing the code itself, they tell you whether you are writing a good code or bad code during the writing itself. Are you understanding or not? Guys, are you getting my points? So you can Eclipse, you can integrate with Eclipse, IntelliJ, Visual Studio, VS Code. And also when you commit some pre-hooks, you can trigger to check that SonarQube scanner also, by the way. Scanning also is been done before commit. You can do the pre-hooks for the scanning. So get pre-hooks, pre-commit hooks for SonarQube. Yeah. So guys, that's what I said. No, you have to find out what you want to do. Here it is. This is the documentation for it. So before committing itself, you can run the scanning analysis. You have a reports and thus follow this thing and then get not in the bad code is getting into the system. So that's what I'm talking about. During the before pre-commit, you do the testing, then commit, then build, then deploy, and whatever we have to do. Linting, you do that, the one which I was talking about, the SonarQube lint. You can check that in the pre-commit also. Do you have a embedded password, secrets, open port, or some token in your code itself? Many things you can check actually. Maintainability, clarity, insecure pattern, hard-coded secret, insecure third-party libraries, and many more. Before commit itself, you can check. During the build, you can check dynamic scanning, attack proxies, fudges, configuration error. During the deployment, you can check compliance check, runtime defense, and hardening. So how to approach implementing automated security testing? So guys, let the team pick its own tool. Have a mindset in, first of all, do you want to do the prop secure thing? Do you want to implement whatever you are doing, do you want to implement security, and then you will get the awareness automatically. So let the team pick its own tool. Start with quick win first. Quick win first means the one which you can solve it faster, not something like you have so much of goals and you have taken you have decided to step ahead the hardest one. No, start with the quick ones, quick wins first. Invest time in setting a baseline. Invest a time in setting baseline. Don't use hard quality gating. Quality gating, remember? If you say, I'll tell you one thing. If you say I'm a release manager and I will not accept this kind of code, but your team is not ready, you know, right now, how can you set the quality gate so fast, so hard? Quality gating, you understand, right, guys? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the reason we learned the tools before discussion. Actually, the plan was to learn to address this theoretical part to begin with, and then learn the tool. But most of the things will not understand. So we decided I override this stuff. Let's learn the tool first and then talk about this theoretical part. So don't use hard quality gating. Plan time to configure and weed out the false positive. False positive, the one which you get it. So it's a iterative process, guys. Select, implement, analyze, and improve, and continue doing it. Nothing can. So guys, automated security testing is a process. It's not a product. So you cannot buy from the market. Simple.
Please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan, and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.